All right, this is awesome. We've got live LED wall virtual production using Nuke. Let me show you how I set it up. Hey everybody, I just got back from SIGGRAPH 2026 in Los Angeles, and I have to say it was fantastic. Now, admittedly, I'm probably a little bit biased. This was my second year as education chair, but the whole conference was just absolutely phenomenal this year. Now, if you're seeing this video before August of 27, then you can start making plans to go to the next SIGGRAPH in North America, which will be in Anaheim, California in August of 2027. I hope I'll get to see you there, because one of the best things about SIGGRAPH is getting to meet people from all over the industry. I got to spend time with folks from MoCap and other schools, and also in this case, I spent a good bit of time with the folks from the Foundry. Now graciously, they've given us an early copy of Nuke Stage, which allows us to use Nuke skills to do virtual production live on an LED wall. Really every major feature film, tentpole episodic, and even most indie films use Nuke as their primary compositing tool. And that includes matte paintings, 2.5D, camera projection, and 3D set extension. All of them are using Nuke. And now with Nuke Stage, we can take that entire skill set and transfer it live onto the LED wall. So let's take a look at how this comes together. Okay, so we're starting with a clean slate. I'm going to set up that entire scene using really nothing but a few images and a completely blank Nuke Stage setup. Now, on our render box that's connected to the LED wall, we're running something called Nuke Stage Listener. It's just an application sitting around waiting for commands to know what to do. Now here, this is my virtual art department box. Here, I'm going to be running Listener as well because we have a number of programs to fire up on this system. So I'll fire up my windows and type in Listener and Nuke Stage Listener, and this is exactly what I did over on the render box, and now Listener is listening. Next, I'm going to fire up Nuke Stage Launcher because that's the tool that launches all the different processes needed by Nuke Stage. So Windows key and Launcher, and there's Nuke Stage Launcher. We'll get a little graphical user interface for this. And that just took a second. So this is going to need to know about all the computers on our studio network. Now we really are only going to use 2 computers in this setup. So I have the render box, that's going to be our render node, and we'll just have one of those. If this was a much larger LED wall and we had multiple render boxes responsible for different parts of the wall or multiple displays, we'd have more render nodes, and maybe we'll do a demo of that a little bit later. But for now, we'll also need an editor that sets up our scene and sends it over to the render node, and a relay that sits in between the editor and the render node to communicate between all the different computers. So to add these computers, it's really easy. We just click on Editor, for example, and type in an IP address, and we're ready to go. Now, I've done this already for the 2 computers here, so I'm just going to right-click and remove this one, and instead, I'm going to open my configuration that has my 3 processes configured. So Editor and Relay are both running on this box, and then one render node is running on the box connected to the LED wall. Just a quick note from the post-production edit, you don't have to enter an IP address for any of the processes that are going to run local on the machine that has the launcher. So in this case, I could have left the editor and the relay IP addresses blank, and launcher would have automatically fired them up on that local machine. So the IP address is optional in that case, and you just have to put them in if they're going to be running on a separate machine from the launcher itself. So just a little detail. All right, back to the demo. Okay, let's launch those. Our LED wall is responding, wonderful. We've got relay running now, and we should be seeing editor any second. And there it is. All right, so I will maximize the editor. And the first thing we need to do with the editor is connect to our relay. So we have a variety of pages, and right now I'm on the setup page. And over here is my project graph. And I want to connect to my relay. So this is relay. It's running on the same machine here. And now that I'm connected to my relay, I should be able to see there's my render node, and I'm going to add that to my topology. The render node has a license. It is ready to go. Now, after a little bit of time, we should be able to see the frames per second we're getting there. And there we go. We're getting about 30 frames a second. Wonderful. Now, that's because our everts clock is running at 30 frames a second. However, right now, editor's configured for 24 frames a second. So I would actually see that if I wanted to do a debug. I can go in my setup page over to the render debug tab, and I'm going to switch this to profiler as my overlay type and activate my debug as visible. And so here you can see there's a green line and then a bunch of bars that are being updated. So right now that black bar indicates which bars are being updated. And so that is running across the screen and telling me that I'm rendering frames. The thing is that it's saying that I'm targeting 24 frames a second and I'm rendering at 30 frames a second. So I want to tell Nuke Stage that I want to use 30 frames a second. So here in my project graph, I'll expand hardware. I'll go to timecode source. I'm going to stick with my system clock, but I'm going to change my frame rate from 24 to 30. And now instantly you see that the two lines come together. The bars are touching what I'm asking for. My target is 30 frames a second, and I'm getting 30 frames a second. So great, now we're in agreement on our frame rate. I can go ahead and deactivate my render debug, and we're ready to start setting up all of our hardware. So the next thing here is we're going to set up our output window. And the output window is going to match the resolution of our LED wall. So outputs, I'm going to add output 1. It'll be a window. The resolution of this LED wall is 3840 by 1920. We'll call it Nuke Stage. We would like that to be borderless, and I think that's all we need for the output. And nothing yet because we don't have a display configured. So let's configure our display. So we'll hit plus here, and we get a little square because it is defaulting to 1 by 1 by 1. So our LED wall is actually 6 meters wide by 3 meters high. It is 4 meters in X from the origin of our Vicon system. So Vicon is running right now. It's tracking the crown on the camera. However, our LED wall here, the center of the LED wall is at 0, 0, 0. We need it to be 4 meters in X. So translation here, 4 meters. I need to rotate that to face the origin, so I think that's negative 90 degrees. Yep. And we just need to lift it off the floor. The center of this LED wall physically is 1.65 meters off the floor. Okay, so now our LED display is in place. We just need to tell it that it needs to receive an output. So we'll scroll down here in our properties for the display. We'll add an output mapping, and this is going to use the render node, and the output is output 1 that we created earlier. So at this point, we're getting solid black on our LED wall because we don't have anything else in our scene yet. So before we add anything to the scene, I'm just going to go ahead and add a camera and make sure we have that going. So I'll expand camera and go to cameras. I will add a camera. This will be an inner frustum camera. Wonderful. Scroll down. I'm going to stream data from Vicon. So I'll change my stream type to Vicon and scroll down here. Our tracking prop is Ursa Crown 01. I do want my axis mapping to be X right, Y up, Z back, and our server address, this is our Vicon computer. So just enter in that IP address, make sure I get that correct. And there we go, we're getting our tracking data. So now all I need to do is orient the lens of the camera relative to the lens of our actual Ursa camera. So the orientation of the crown prop isn't matched to the lens. So we're just gonna rotate the camera under that crown. So I'll expand transform for this camera. And I think what I need to do, if I remember correctly, is rotate 90 degrees in X negative and positive 90 degrees in Z, and there we go. So now our inner frustum camera is moving, and I want to test that out. If I walk over to my camera to move it, I'm not going to be able to see this screen. So I'm going to change my render debugger from profiler to camera and then activate that. And now on my LED wall in the lower left-hand corner, I have a representation of my scene, and I should be able to pan the camera and see it panning correctly in that scene. There we go. Awesome. So we are looking good for our camera. Excellent. So now we can start building out our scene. And again, I'm just going to use a few images, and I don't need a big old project file. The first thing I'm going to do is go to my scene page and right-click, add a mesh, and this will be a sphere. Because earlier this morning, I went to the roof of our parking garage and just took a spherical image from there, and then also shot a photograph so I could get a foreground wall with, so we could set up some parallax. So in this sphere, I will select that and scroll down. Let's make this like 100 meters in diameter in every direction. And now it's filling up our wall. I can go back to my setup, render debug, and deactivate my camera debugger. There we go. And now I want to override this gray material with an actual image. So here in my scene page, I will right-click and create a texture override, and I'll just make a new compositing graph. So this is a basic compositing graph, just like we would see in Nuke. If I go here to my comp page, I've got a read node, and the texture override is effectively my output over to the sphere. So let's go ahead and select the read, and I'm gonna browse, and on my Z drive, I have a Nuke Stage folder and my city sphere. So I can open that up, and there it is in my scene, and there it is on my LED wall. Now, the only thing is that when I look at this, I immediately see that it's reversed because we're on the inside of the sphere, and this, is applying this texture to the outside of the sphere. So we can do some standard Nuke stuff. I'm just gonna move my read node up here, and then tap T for transform. And I'm just gonna scale it -1 in X. So now I've got the correct orientation that I would like. It's now familiar to me. Great, so here is our LED wall, here's our camera, we're seeing the city scene, but it would be kind of boring if we just had a sphere. I want to get some parallax, so I'm going to add a foreground wall that's much closer to us here in the studio. It's just going to be beyond the wall. So I'll go back to my scene page, right-click, add a mesh. In this case, it's just a plane, so this will just be some 2.5D. Here's our plane in our scene. I will select that, right-click, and I'm going to create a texture override for that. I'm just going to add it to the same graph rather than a new graph. And so if I go back to my comp page, here it is. Read 2 is going to the texture override for that 2D plane. And I'll go to Browse, and back to my Z drive, and Nuke Stage. And here I'm going to get my wall PNG. It has an alpha channel so that it has transparency, right? So if I zoom in here, we've got transparency. Okay, so now I do want to make sure that the aspect ratio is correct. So with the read node selected, here in properties, I can scroll down, look at my metadata, and scroll down further, and I can see the aspect ratio is 4:3. So back at my scene, I'll select my plane and set my scale here to 4:3. So now I've got the correct aspect ratio. I'm just going to position this a little behind my LED wall. E for rotate, just like in Unreal Engine and Maya. Let's make that -90 degrees. W for movement, just like Maya and Unreal. And so now we're seeing it on the wall. It's a little small, so I want to hit R, just like all of our other apps, and scale this up. And W, we'll just position this. And again, this is close to the LED wall 3-dimensionally, so that this way I have some good parallax between this foreground wall and the city in the background. I may not have it like a perfectly flush 90 degrees. I'm looking at how it looks on the LED wall. And there we go. Just kind of position that a little bit differently. And so now with that where it is, I can stand in front of the camera. Here we are. I'm out on the roof of my parking garage. And let me just go ahead and move the camera. We should see our 3D parallax. And we do, very nice. Of course, if I did camera projection, I could get a little more 3D out of my wall there. So that's nice. Maybe what I'll do for now is lower the wall a bit. And there we go. And finally, I can, add some branding to this because we're really grateful for the folks at the Foundry for giving us early access to this and the opportunity to share it with you. So I'm going to add the Nuke Stage logo a little bit further in space out beyond the wall so we have some more parallax to work with. I'll go right-click, add a mesh. It's going to be a plane. We'll right-click again and create a new texture override on the same node graph. Read 3 is going to go read our Nuke logo, browse for that on the Z drive, Nuke Stage, and Nuke Stage yellow. And there we go. So let's go down to our metadata, and here we can see, whoops, scroll and scroll, and we are 3.4 by 0.6 as our aspect ratio. So we'll go to our plane 2 and say that that scale is 3.4 by 0.6 to start off with, and now we have Nuke Stage. And I'm gonna move this out here. Whoops, that was wrong. Control Z, undo. Oops, spacebar, by the way, goes full screen. Let's select plane 2, move that out beyond the wall. E to rotate, -90. And W will raise this, whoops, sorry, plane 2. Raise that up so we can see it. Wonderful. And maybe R to scale it up. Okay, so we have some issues with the Nuke Stage logo though. It's not pre-multiplied and it's a little edgy, right? So we can do our standard Nuke stuff, right? So we go to the comp and we can go select the read node, and what I'll do is pre-multiply the alpha. So tab and type pre, and there's my pre-mult, just like I would do in Nuke. And now I've got a nice clean edge, but I want to blur it a little bit because it is a little bit further away. So let's just select that pre-mult, hit tab, and type in blur. I could have just hit B, of course, and just a subtle little blur. There we go, that's like 6 size. And there we go. Now we have Nuke Stage on there. And again, because it is placed 3-dimensionally out beyond this wall, if I go to my camera and move my camera back and forth, we have Nuke Stage moving 3-dimensionally live on an LED wall. So there we go. We're doing 3D virtual production live on an LED wall using Nuke. All right, so there you go. I set this up really simply with nothing but a couple of photographs and then fired up Nuke Stage and built it out. There was no big, heavy Unreal Engine project, no compiling, just immediate 2.5D setup in Nuke, and Nuke Stage is showing it live on an LED wall. But there is so much more you can do with this. You can do 2.5D matte paintings, camera projections, video files, driving plates, and of course, full 3D scenes with USD. So I'll try to get a few more demos together here over the summer, but Nuke Stage will be released by the Foundry later this fall, so keep an eye on their site for that. I hope this helped. Until next time, have fun.